All right, man. You ready to go? Hello and welcome to the Living NLP podcast. My name is Nicholas Rave.
I am Morgan Lane Bennett.
And we are here to reveal all of the deepest, darkest secrets about NLP and hypnosis that you've always wanted to know.
We're here to teach you mind control. We're going to teach you how to brainwash yourself and control your mind.
Did I ever tell you about the program that was actually for sale for a while called The Dark Side of NLP?
Yeah. Hello, Diane, whoever you are. Nice to meet you. So
what do we do here in this podcast?
The way we run the show is while we are subliminally controlling your mind, we are also going to share a little bit of ourselves. We're both coaches. We're both proficient in NLP and hypnosis. We've studied it forever. Nicholas has taught it forever. We've just begun to teach it together. We get together once a week and we discuss first just an anecdote of coaching with NLP or just using NLP and hypnosis in our daily life. We have another segment of the show where we go over a quote of some kind that we found in our readings or of our multitude of books that we think is interesting or apropos for you. And then we answer any questions. So Diane, I saw you were there. You gave us a like. If you have a question on anything, whatever, shoot us a question. We'll be happy to answer it. And thus goes the NLP podcast.
So you want me to go first?
Sure, why not?
I think you went first last time and maybe the time before. So let's start with an anecdote. What is my story? My story this week is a follow-up. I've done this a couple times where I've told a story about a breakthrough with a client and then followed up with, okay, here's what's happening now, which I like. I like giving the kind of progression. So a few weeks back, I don't remember when, I talked about a client who had a breakthrough around the word temper. Remember we talked about this? The idea that when we talked about anger issues before, he had never really resonated with it. But when we finally was like, man, you have a temper, that he was like, oh, well, and that word, for whatever reason.
Well, what I love is there's multiple meanings for that word.
Yeah.
And one of them helps the other one.
Yeah. Are you tempered?
Temper your temper, right?
Exactly. So he has started doing this really interesting bioenergetic release where he's going down and basically fighting with the ocean, where the water's hitting him and he's like yelling and screaming and like letting out. Yeah, you're going to lose. That's one of the things I love about it. So he's going down and having this, it's like you're letting go of all the pent up stuff in your system. So follow up. This last week, we had a conversation where he was commenting that he got this really amazing compliment from his boss that he's working for right now, where he was like, you wrote an article and it's trending #1 on Google right now. Like, you are really good at this. And he's like, man, I work with so many other people doing what you do and they're awful to work with. And when I tell you to do something, you just do it. And he's like, it's amazing. You're fabulous. And he said there was this voice in his head that was like, yeah, I've heard this before. And he said something to the effect of, if I'm so damn smart, how come I keep getting like let go by these places? Like, they never say, well, then cool, let's make you a partner in the business. And like, his career has been, he makes good money, but he's never been able to like break through to the level that he wants. And so I was like, well, that's a really good question if you really want to know the answer. So let's sit down and ask your unconscious, why would it be maybe? And we applied the same thing. I was like, what about relationships too? Because he's like, he gets compliments about being really good at doing, like, designing really awesome dates. And he goes out on these incredibly well thought out romantic dates, and he doesn't have a girlfriend. So we're like, all right, so what could it be? And he gave me a list of a bunch of things that were limiting beliefs, and they were valuable. And so then at the end, he's like, well, what do you think it is? And I pulled a little bit of a Jungian trick, which is, and an Ericksonian thing, which is the idea that nothing your client says to you is random. It all comes from the unconscious. It's all, there's meaning and information contained in everything your client communicates to you, including the order and sequence that they share it with you. Like, I love paying attention to the thoughts that they don't share in between two thoughts that seem like they're not related. Like, they'll share a thought, they'll finish, and they'll sit there thinking, and then they'll like change to another subject. But that isn't another subject, because in their mind, they went from here to here to here to here, and they ended up over here, but there was a connection between those two. So before he brought this whole thing up about like, why am I like this? Why don't I have what I want? He had mentioned this thing about feeling entitled. And he was like, I'm like, there's times in my life when I put in the work, someone else gets the credit that I feel that I'm entitled to, and it just flips my switch. So I said, what if that wasn't random, that you were talking about that right beforehand? And then you said, if I'm so smart, why am I not successful? I said, what if that entitlement is the reason that you have been stuck in this perpetual cycle? And I said, imagine it's like this. Imagine that you have a rage burning down inside under the surface, and you've never been aware of it. And maybe even other people aren't aware of it, but they can sense it. They can sense that you're a tea kettle about to scream. And at this point, he goes like huge reaction. He's like, holy shit. And he's like, it's like having bad breath and no one will tell you about it. Like, you're walking around with all this, like, you got a chip on your shoulder, and everybody unconsciously, they're like, wow, he's really talented. He's amazing, but I don't know if I actually want to keep him around, because I can sense that if I ever accidentally step too far, he'll snap. And I was like, does that resonate? And he's like, oh my God. And then I was like, what about in relationships? Could it be the same thing, that she can sense that you're too tightly wound? And so I'll wrap it up by saying, I love, and I said this to him, I love when the answer, if I can find a way to make the solution to the problem the client is bringing up something they're already doing. It's like they've already started working on the problem. They just didn't know it yet. And there's this moment of like, oh my God, it's like this, the end of The Sixth Sense or something, when it all clicks into place and you're like, holy shit, we're already doing it. And then it's this
I'm
feeling
the bad
of
guy?
Yeah. Right.
Wait a minute. Yeah.
So the last point that I got him to recognize was, what if now, moving forward, all those situations that have gone the same way in the past, what if now they have to be different because you are now doing the stuff to actually bring up and release what's inside? Yeah. And that's kind of where we left it. But that insight about, like, he described it as like having bad breath that no one will tell you about.
Sure, and that's what a coach is for. I'm not your friend. Your friends didn't tell you any of this stuff. Your therapist couldn't tell you, hey, are you an asshole? Like, I don't know if anyone's ever asked you this before, or maybe, you know, like, are you a dick?
Yeah.
And myself included, you know what I mean? A lot of that stuff is equally applicable to anybody, but like, I hear that, I'm like, oh yeah, totally, for sure. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, that we are the blind spot. I mean, you can set up an elaborate system of mirrors, which really wouldn't quite get it, but you know, our job is to go, oh, you have a blind spot. We all do, and that's what we all need. Yeah. An external perspective on that stuff, and that's great.
Reflect it back. Yeah, and reflect it back in a way you can hear it.
Right, and that was going to be my part of one of my anecdote was, like, I had somebody tell me that in a personal training way. I get referrals from a doctor, and they show him some things multiple times, and this guy comes to see me one time, and he goes back to the doctor, and he's like, "Oh, I fucking get it now. I totally get it. Like, you do the thing, it's this, and like I get it." And the doctor's kind of almost like jokingly mad. He's like, "I've been telling you that for 3 weeks now." You know what I mean? It's like sometimes it just takes the right person to tell you in the right way, and which is all rapport.
The right rapport, exactly.
And knowing how to communicate with somebody, which doctors are not particularly good at.
Well, they're not trained to do it.
Right. They're trained to just do very dismissive. But that wasn't quite what I was going to talk about, but maybe some of the time. I had a result last hour with a person, which is, if I could say this is the thing that I do, this is the thing that I do. They were having this guy was having an internal battle of whatever. Particularly, I want to do this with my body, but I'm not doing it. There's always a battle between me and my body. I want to do this, but I'm not doing it. And recently, so I was like, "Hey man, so how are things going?" And he's like, I feel great in my body. I'm doing the things I want to do. I did X and Y and Z, and I did Z 3 times this week, whatever. It's like, "Oh, it's amazing. How does that feel?" And he said, the process from I'd like to X to doing X is smooth. It's easy, which means like I think of something I want to do and I do it. And then he's like, "Oh, and also like, watering a plant. I used to just put that off and put on a list, the list of giant shit, and then it's like I'm using all the mental space to keep that list open, and then all the mental space to ignore the fact that there's a dying plant right there. But I'm just going to do something else rather than just go, "Oh, I'm going to water plant next." Right? At which point you're just like from thought to action become just the thing, and you manifest your reality by just doing the things you think about without no, you got to, what about this? So I love that they said the process from I'd like to I'm doing is just smooth now, that there isn't the internal battle and all the energy that it takes, the time that it wastes, he called it the like of just like or whatever, all that the battle inside just to get somebody to do something that they want to do, and to be able to make that battle over, to take the things and not get rid of any part of you, but to upgrade everything. The rising tide raises all, like we're gonna raise the level of everything and leave whatever behind that we need to leave behind, and you'll be able to just think about something and do it. Like that to me is what I think, at least in my world of clients, is, I mean, what's the problem? If you could do that, what problem could you have?
Well, you said the word battle, and the way that I have been talking about this shift for people lately is ending the inner war.
Yeah, that's like exactly.
Yeah, and to me, like ending the inner war, the antidote to that is the word that gets thrown around a lot in NLP, which is congruency. But congruency it's a very real thing. It's maybe not measurable, but you can actually tell how conflicted or in alignment are you on something.
I use alignment, aka integrity, of like, all that, the inner war, ending the inner war. So that's basically, quiet that voice inside that's telling you to fucking
get the voices working with each other. That's the thing I always talk about, is it's not, you're never going to quiet all the voices. The voices are there for a reason. No, but the point is to get them to the point where they're singing in harmony, like they're all working together.
And they're like,
yes.
This is the time for the board meeting of all the fucking monkeys that need to chatter and yell at me about whatever needs to be done. Close the door. Okay, cool. Moving on with my life and being able to sleep and do whatever I need to do. And then, okay, oh, hey, monkeys, what do you got for me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Click, bye,
Yeah, to be able to say, we already had this conversation
Right.
and we made a decision
I don't
and
need
now
you to
we're
tell me
just
about
doing
it
it.
at 3:00 in the morning.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the ending the inner war, to go from I'd like to I'm doing, with a thought rather than
Mm-hmm.
with a war, a battle, a
Mm-hmm.
knockdown, drag out, which usually ends up with, if you do the thing, you've just been through a battle and you're probably still getting yelled at as you're doing it. Like, so
Yeah.
calming that, quieting that, bringing that inner peace, the alignment, the congruity, the integrity, that is my jam. And I think if you
Yeah.
can get that, you can do anything.
Yeah. I recently described the shift from pain, like being pain motivated and away from motivated and stress motivated, to desire motivated, in a way that it was kind of it dawned on me while I was saying it, that learning how to shift from like stress and overwhelm, which is like, it's a thing that will continue to build up and build up and build up until you'll finally take action. And so you get accustomed to an addiction to stress. It really literally is an addiction to the stress feeling and the high that comes with, oh my God, I got to get this done. To learn how to do things because you want to do them, you have to learn how to let a much less intense impulse guide you. That it's almost like, instead of being in raging fucking rapids that you're bouncing against rocks or like shooting out of a dam or something like this, it's like a gentle stream. You can float on that stream and lazily let it take you down there, but it's never, well, it's rarely. I suppose there are times when desire is even more intense than the dam pushing you like this. But yeah, I think learning how to like be like, oh, there was a thought that said water the plant. That's it. That's all you're gonna get. That is the voice. So now just go, oh, okay, and then you do it and let
Right.
that
And
move you there.
that seems like a superpower, like doing the dishes, folding your
Yeah,
laundry, fucking
yeah,
all these things, ever sending an email or replying to
yeah,
somebody's text. Just if you just done. What
yeah,
that's why, like, if I get a homework thing or I need to do a test or write a thing, like, do it and then it's done.
yeah,
And it's fucking
yeah,
great. I highly recommend it.
yeah.
And people who can't do
Man,
that,
that is a holy grail for a lot of people. Like what you're describing there, you said it, that sounds like a superpower, and I think it looks like a superpower to a lot of people. Most people are only motivated, even if they don't think they are only motivated by the stick.
and obviously, to be obvious about my obviousness, I'm not perfect. I don't do everything all the time, always on the thing. But for the most part, I dislike the feeling of not doing it more than I actually like the feeling of doing it more than I dislike the feeling of not doing it. It's like, I just do it. Get it done.
Yeah.
Get her done.
Okay. Oh God, did we have to go there?
Of course we did.
Have you ever seen, this is neither here nor there, have you ever seen footage of Larry the Cable Guy from like the 90s and the late 80s?
He's just like a dude.
He's like Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah. No, it's just
bland, like absolutely milquetoast. He's like clean cut, like that whole character.
Well, the Duck Dynasty people were all a bunch of Orange County, blonde, beautiful.
Yep.
Yeah, they're like, hey, I got an idea. Let's duck it up.
It's really amazing. I mean, I imagine that Larry the Cable Guy can walk around the world invisible because everybody's looking for him to look a certain way.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, whatever. You create a character and make $100 million off of it. Good for you. Okay. Quote. My quote this time is not going to be particularly original. It's a quote that in NLP we say a lot. It's a Milton Erickson quote. And I've been thinking about a new level of insight around this quote. So I love...
Level. You ever listen to Pantera?
No.
Oh, fucking Pantera, dude.
Really? Yeah?
There are a couple of their early albums.
I've heard a little bit, but...
I mean, it's metal. It's fast metal, but they got this song, A New Level. It's fucking
Yeah, I like that stuff. Okay. So the quote is, there are no resistant clients, only inflexible communicators. So the idea here is that, you know this, if you label in your mind the communication that you're receiving from someone, whatever behavior that is, visual, auditory, kinesthetic, whatever behavior, if you label it as resistance, you are instantaneously unable to influence them anymore. If instead you label everything that they're giving you as them cooperating, even if they are trying to convince you that they are not cooperating with you, if you don't buy it, you can get to this place where you're like, well, that is them cooperating with me. That is their unconscious talking to me and giving me valuable information. I described it recently as like, imagine you're doing a kind of improvisational dance with another person, and the two of you are just making it up as you go along. And then at some point, that person stops and just starts standing still. If you stop and look at them and go, why aren't you dancing anymore? Why did you stop dancing? Well, now you're not dancing. But if you look at them standing still and you go, oh, that is their dance. That's what they're doing in the dance right now. So now how do I dance with that? Maybe that means I need to stand still too. Or maybe I got to move around their stillness. So this is all stuff I've thought about quite a lot. And I work very hard to hold that perspective when I'm working with my clients. And I had the thought, this applies to parts of your own unconscious too. That resistance, there are no resistant clients, there are only inflexible communicators. There are no resistant parts, only inflexible conscious minds. If you start judging what your unconscious is giving you, now you're not dancing anymore. It's quite similar to the principles around how to have a good trip if you're on a psychedelic journey, which is surrender, surrender, surrender. Basically, you just, the second you start going, oh, this isn't it. This isn't the experience that I'm here to have. Now, we were doing it and now we're not doing it. And maybe we'll start doing it again. But if you can go, no, this is it. And this is it too. And this is it. You have this, the depth of the transformational power of surrender. And I've never applied in that way that quote around external communication and labeling it. I think that if you do that same thing where you get curious about the client's communication and you get curious about your own unconscious communicating with you, even if it's saying hateful shit, like when you're talking to somebody who's yelling at you and they're angry, if you go, oh, this person doesn't want to cooperate, they're being resistant, you can actually see that communication as them trying to cooperate. Again, everyone's doing the best they can with the resources they have available and all that stuff. So yeah, there was just, I had an insight about that being internally true as well. And it helped me with a deeper level of accepting all the communication from my unconscious.
Nice. I like that. The non-judgment of it all is good. I am a big fan of the I don't buy it frame.
Yeah.
Like, especially with kids.
How do you use that?
Especially with kids. Like, they don't, that's not real. You're not being real with me. You're trying to manipulate me emotionally. I know what you're doing. I'm not your parent, so I can tell you that's not going to work on me. You're going to have to, I'm not buying that. Like, whether it's I'm sad or I'm upset, I'm like, not that it's always like that, but you know, when a kid's trying to like, it's second brain stuff. I'm using emotions to manipulate my environment. And once you realize that I can do that to an adult, well, then that's a very powerful resource that these kids have. Like, and everyone freaks out. And like, I control people with my emotions, which is everybody does all the time anyways, but particularly with, with kid, I'm like, come on, man. I know that's not real. I know, like, I'm not buying it. I know that's not you right now. And that doesn't work on me because I'm not your parents. So be real with me. And a lot of times they'll be like, or like, oh, I see. You're making me realize that like this doesn't always work on everybody. So I have to like, it's not just a one shot. I just make crybaby noises and everybody gives me what I want. Which, when people like that grow up, they do the same shit as adults. And I'm like, I'm not buying it. I'm like, it's not, I'm not your parents. I'm not like, even with when people come to see us, it's like, okay, cool. I'm not your wife, your girlfriend, your boss, whatever. That story, that doesn't work on me. I'm not here for it to work on me as best as possible. I'm here to go, is that real? Because like, I don't know, I'm not buying it. Is that a real thing? Because if it is, let's follow it down. If it's not, like, and a lot of times under any kind of scrutiny of like, really though? They're like, no. And like, okay, that was easy, right?
Yeah.
Let's take that layer of shit away. All right, what's down here? Is this really a thing? Do you really believe that? No. Okay, next layer down. Because if we bought everything that our clients told us, we wouldn't
never get
that they could change. Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, you're right. Oh yeah, that's terrible. Gosh, I bet that really, boy, it's the difference between sympathy and empathy.
Yeah, right? The implication of what you're saying is not that there isn't anything in there, not that they're lying or making all of it up, but that the stuff at the surface is not it. So like, just as quickly as possible, sweep that out of the way and get to the deeper stuff.
I mean, everybody's always trying to manipulate everybody to do whatever they need to get done. But like, on whatever level, like, is that real? Are you really feeling that? Or it's I enjoy being the non-parental around kids because I'm fairly childish, but at the same time, like, I'm not going to let a kid pull a kid move on me and not be like, I know what I know what you're doing, right? I just want you to know, I know what you're doing, and it doesn't work on me. And they're like, it's fun. And then using that with adults as well. Again,
I think a lot of times they don't know what they're doing either. And when you point out, I know what you're doing, they go, I'm doing something? And then they have to examine it.
Which is, again, am I talking about kids? Am I talking about adults?
Right.
It's the whole thing. So I like that. I don't buy that. Are you a victim? I'm not buying it. Like, I feel for your pain, but I don't feel your pain. Like, I'm not going to, I'm like, oh, poor baby. Oh God.
Right.
You okay? Oh, that's terrible. Like, but I can hold a space of respect and hold a place where you can be the hero that gets out of your situation with empathy rather than sympathy, right? I understand enough of what you're feeling and I respect it enough to help you get out of there, but I'm not going to jump into the wallow and like, so I think there's something to the not buying it that can be helpful.
Yeah, I think there's a point in there too about pacing and leading that, like, I'm not buying it is a polarity response. So you have to have enough rapport at the beginning. Sometimes you exactly
go, fuck your bullshit. You're supposed to stop lying to me. But even on my own, where I'm like, I'm not buying that. Oh, this person goes, oh, I'm this and that and all these things and nobody likes me. Like, okay, if I buy that, where am I? Where are we? But if I go, all right, sure, no one likes you. Okay, right? And then ask questions. Somebody like you? Oh, okay. So I guess not everybody, pull people back to reality. Speaking of reality, oldie but a goodie.
Don't know anything about this. I don't even know who that is. Who's John Baines?
John Baines, Hermetic Philosophy, Book 2.
Ooh, rad.
Yes, it's a classic. But a nice little quote in here talking about humans in general. It's talking about freedom. And he says Homo sapiens generally desire, he says so Homo sapiens, generally he desires it physically and fears it psychologically. Which I think is very interesting, more about brains and all the things. Like, everyone's like, yeah, I want to be free. Okay, cool.
Do you?
Right. But like, so much of people's fears aren't that they don't want to be, I want to be free to walk around. I want to be free to go to a restaurant. I want to be free to whatever, but when, free, but, free psychologically is a whole other thing. And I think that's where a lot of people who are emotionally stunted or afraid of the freedom that is required to be emotionally well-rounded. Like so many of the control freaks that I work with, they're afraid of free to be free. Like, what if I felt whatever I needed to feel? What if I could do whatever well, I mean, what's to stop you from killing everybody? You know what I mean? Like, I know, but like, well, freedom, I mean, technically, like psychological freedom means I'd have to make choices on the go. I could, that means there wouldn't be just one me that shows up everywhere. That there's like I'm changing all the time. I'm free to change. I'm free to grow. I'm free to keep. I'm free to let go. I'm free to, what I mean? And that to me, like same with psychedelic trips, just got to be free psychologically. It's not just about, oh, my body's really tripping out. But if psychologically I'm like, I can't let go of the models, the maps,
right.
To me, being free psychologically means you're ready to just take that whiteboard and just, okay, do I trust myself to be psychologically free? A lot of people think, to be physically free, then again, there's food and drug addictions and all that stuff, but like most people aren't afraid to be physically free, but they are challenged around like actually being psychologically free, which means having to let go of their old teddy bears, their old chains, their old whatever has kept them safe in the comfort zone of their minds. Because a lot of people who I know who are in a comfort zone are fairly free physically. They can do whatever they want to do, but psychologically they're in the real comfort zone is psychologically I haven't grown, I haven't expanded myself, I haven't challenged myself and faced a fear or done something uncomfortable or failed at something, because psychologically I'm afraid to be free to fail. I mean, so much of what I do is help people be free to fail, so you can go grow and do and go off and do things. I just thought that was a fun distinction between Homo sapiens they want freedom. Usually they want it physically, and they're a little more reticent about it psychologically.
What's that quote about? One of the great paradoxes of life is that you are free to make your own choices, but you are never free from the consequences of those choices. There's something in there about this. I remember hearing Jordan Peterson talk about the concept that one of the most core fundamental ways to look at yin and yang is order and chaos. And between those, that your mind is a device that is attempting to make order out of chaos. And freedom is actually on the side of chaos. And that's part of the reason we fear it. Like total freedom. When you think about are you free as an American? Like, what would true freedom be? Freedom, I think, real true freedom would be you'd have to start your own country. Because the point is, you're not free in America. You are now protected by, let's call it a gang. There's a gang that says, if you follow these rules, we will protect you. But that's not freedom. You're sacrificing a degree of freedom to be part of this tribe or this gang. If you really wanted to be free, go start your own country.
Right. Yeah.
And even then, like physically free. I'm saying like we're not even physically free. And then you add to that psychological freedom and the prison of your mind and your beliefs.
Right.
Yeah. I think people are afraid to be physically free in some capacity too.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you think about somebody who's been in prison for a while.
Oh, yeah.
And then they have the opportunity to come out. And there's an anxiety that comes along with that.
Can you imagine? They don't teach you how to do anything but be back inside. Yeah, I know that's
exactly.
We talked about like that's We don't need to defund the police. We need to reform the entire prison, but a correctional.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah, they should be
Yeah, I
teaching
mean,
NLP.
even that it's called correctional. Like, no, it's not. That's
Yeah,
not what
exactly.
it's for.
It's
I mean,
more
it
like
should be,
it's
but it's not.
penal.
Yeah.
It's penile.
Yes, exactly. Hey, we got a couple questions here.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Evelyn said in contemplative questions, there's one that's something like, how is it possible now for your solution to be overcome? Oh, didn't you mention that question like a week ago or something?
Week, yeah.
She said, go to the deep structures of their sentence and calibrate like a mofo while they say them. The different subjects may I think she was commenting on what we were saying at the time,
Cool.
and I missed it. So
Well, hello.
well, thanks for the comments. I don't actually see a
let's see.
question in
How
there.
is it possible for your solution to be overcome? I always thought that was weird. Overcoming the solution to your problem.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. I was like, it feels too Milton model-y. I mean, like too Milton model-y. Like it doesn't actually make sense enough to swallow it. Like my brain goes, that doesn't work. I can't even try it on.
Right.
I think there's more artful ways to do that kind of stuff. I can't imagine Milton actually saying that.
Right. I mean, get past overcoming the solution to your problem.
that actually works, because then you're putting it like chronologically. You're saying, I am now past the overcoming of your solution, but to overcome the solution, I get what they're going for.
Can you
just
understand?
Never thought it was.
What do you need to understand to overcome the solution that you resolve your evolution?
Yeah. I like get past though. That actually works better.
Well, thank you, Evelyn, for your comment. Much appreciated. And
I didn't have any comments in the back pocket, so I think that might be it for today.
Cool.
Okay. Well, see you all next week. We're going to be meeting on Tuesday next week, I think, is the plan.
12:30?
At 12:30. Yep. So we'll be back on Tuesday the 13th at 12:30 California time. In the meantime, stay badass and peace, love, and NLP, everybody.